All right, good morning, everyone. We are going to get started. You are going to be asked to do a couple activities today. So the best thing to do is to have this Zoom meeting up on one device and to have a second device with the presentation so that you can follow along and interact. However, you do not have to have two devices. It's just a little bit easier. If you only have one device, totally fine. You'll just be switching back and forth between tabs. So I would suggest you close all the tabs that you don't need just so that you are not confused when you're trying to go click back and forth. Again, the bit.ly to get this presentation is the bottom right-hand corner. It will be on every slide for the first few slides, and then it will be on every couple of slides as we continue. So welcome to PD at Your Desk. This is the second PD at Your Desk this year, and today we're looking at Adobe Spark. This PD is one of many different types of professional development that the ITFs in Gaston County offer through Gaston Digital. Hopefully by now you've at least heard of Gaston Digital if you haven't participated before. The website is linked on this presentation. So again, if you've gone to that bit.ly, you have the presentation up, you can access the Gaston Digital website. That's where you will find all professional development opportunities, face-to-face, virtual, online courses that we have, resources, tips, tricks, lots of different things. And right now we are gearing up for summer, which is good because that means you guys are getting close to summer. But there's going to be a lot of opportunities over the summer if you want to continue your learning, earn those DLC, CEUs, or just participate and kind of find out what's new. So all of that you can find on the Gaston Digital website. So our plan for today, we're going to look at Adobe Spark. It is a very simple graphic design tool developed for education, developed by Adobe. So it is what we like to call an evergreen tool, which it means it is good for any grade level and any subject area. So we'll do a quick little intro to Adobe Spark. We will look at some examples. I'll give you some ideas of how you can use it in different content areas, different subjects. We are going to spend a decent amount of time creating your own so you can see how easy it is. We'll have time for questions, and then you will submit your artifact before you leave. So with the North Carolina Digital Learning Competencies, these are the objectives that today's session will address. And part of the DLCs require you to submit an artifact or evidence of your learning. So what that looks like can be different in all the different types of PD that you do. For today, what that's going to look like is you're going to turn it in before you leave. So once you are done and once we end this webinar, then you, the only thing left you'll have to do is hopefully try Adobe Spark with your students. So what your evidence is going to look like, so you can kind of be thinking and brainstorming, you are going to be creating your own graphic to submit. So what I want you to do is, while we're going through this, be thinking of an inspiring quote that you could post in your classroom. That's what we're going to create, a graphic that you can post somewhere in your classroom or your office, depending on what your role is. You can always just Google inspiring education quotes. So that's kind of where we're headed today. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Catherine. I am one of the ITFs. I serve primarily secondary schools, so middle and high schools in the county. If you have a question about Adobe Spark, you want some more information, you can email me. You can also email your ITF. And if you're on Twitter, then you can follow me there as well. Running today's chat on the back end, helping to support you guys as we go through this, is Abby, and I'm going to give her a chance if she wants to hop on and say hi.
Good morning, guys. I'm Abby. I'm one of the elementary ITFs, and I am manning the chat today. So if you need me, I'm in the background. You can do a private chat or a public chat, and I will be here to help you.
Thanks, Abby. So if you need anything, we're both here to help you. Abby's going to be there to kind of help since I'll be kind of leading us today. So speaking of chat and Zoom, we are using Zoom if you're not familiar with it. It is a webinar conference tool. This screenshot will give you kind of an overview of what you may be seeing. The items that you'll really need, mute, you're automatically muted because I know a lot of us are sitting in schools, myself included, so disclaimer before we get too far, I apologize if there are any announcements or bells. Last PD at your desk, we were interrupted by a lockdown, so fingers crossed that does not happen to us today, but that's why everybody is automatically muted, just so that we can minimize some distractions. You can unmute yourself at any time if you have a question though. And the chat feature, if you need to chat Abby, like she said, you can chat everyone, that's the default. I would encourage you, if it is a general question, to type your chat to everyone because others may benefit from the question and seeing the answer that either Abby or myself gives. But you also can change who your chat is to, so you can privately chat one of us if you need to. So that's kind of a quick little overview of Zoom. So we're going to practice with the chat because we have a good variety of people in here. So I want you to use the chat feature and introduce yourself. If you would give your name, where you teach, and if you would also give either your role or what subject or content area you teach so that we can kind of gear the examples towards those of you that are in this webinar session. So again, you'll use the chat box there. Another South Point teacher. Janice, you had 2 other colleagues in here this morning. So y'all will have a nice little group that you can bounce ideas off of. Hey, Allie, Emily, Bridget. Hey, Lisa and Judith. A couple of counselors. I'd encourage you guys to collaborate back and forth too. As counselors, you can share, Matthew, hey, more counselors, yay. You guys can share some different ideas of how you guys can use Adobe Spark. All right, so it looks like we have a decent mix of people here. All right, cool. So again, at any chance or at any point, if you have a question, use that chat feature and Abby can be there. Sometimes it's difficult for us to see what's going on your side because we're not sitting right next to you. So I definitely do not want to go too fast or confuse you. So that's what the chat is for. So I am curious, in just a second, you're going to see a poll on your screen. And I'm curious if you have participated in one of our online, either PD in your PJs or PD at your desk in the past. So you should see on your screen right now a poll if you've attended or if this is your first time participating in one of these with us. Looks like a good number of you have attended before, so that is pretty exciting. A couple first-time attendees, welcome. So this is Gaston Digital's virtual synchronous professional development. So we're all on here at the same time together. Obviously it's virtual, we are all in our own locations. PD at your desk happens during the school day. PD in your PJs happens in the evenings. So you can kind of pick and choose what works best for you. So welcome back to those of you who have been here, and welcome to those of you who are trying this for the first time. Hopefully you enjoy it. So our focus today is going to be on Adobe Spark as a creative tool that your students can use to demonstrate their understanding of whatever content you're using in a more creative way. And the purpose is to kind of give you that option. So instead of just having a test or just having them, you know, write something down, giving them kind of this creative outlet that is going to help them build skills, like desktop publishing skills that they can use in the future. So a lot of what Adobe Spark does is obviously graphic design, but a lot of those skills can be used in other programs and other areas. So as your students continue moving on and enter the workforce, chances are at one point or another, they're gonna need some of those skills. And Adobe Spark is a good way to kind of introduce them and get them started with that. So Adobe Spark, one of the nice things about it is you can use it on any device. So I would be willing to bet most of you and your students will use it on Chromebooks. But Adobe Spark is available as an iOS app on the iPad and an iPhone. I have used it on my iPhone to create things kind of on the fly. It works very similarly to the web design. So that's kind of nice that it doesn't matter what device you have, you can still use Adobe Spark. Just a quick little overview before we get into it. Adobe Spark was created by Adobe, and what that means to me is Adobe, you know, one of the premier graphic design companies out there, has created this tool geared towards educators and students. So it's got all of those elements of graphic design, it's got all of the knowledge base of Adobe, but they have taken into consideration teacher and student needs in creating this tool, which is really, really cool. It is single sign-on, which means you will click the Google button. And I'm going to show you in just a minute that Gaston County Schools has the enterprise version, which is going to get you some more features and functionality with Adobe because you've already been imported on the back end, your accounts into this tool. So it's just going to make it a little easier to use for you and your students. You can create graphics, and that's what the example is that you're seeing on your screen right now. You can create video and you can create web pages. So within Adobe Spark, you've got those three main tools that you can use. Today, we are going to look at video and we are going to focus on graphics. I would recommend that if you're getting started with Adobe Spark, you start with graphics. It's a little bit easier. That's what we're going to do today. But the video tool is extremely cool. I really, really like it. And so we'll talk a little bit about that in a couple minutes. Adobe Spark has templates. So anytime I see a tool that has templates, I immediately like it even more because it means it's giving me a starting place and I don't have to start from scratch. That can be really helpful for our students, especially those who get bogged down when they're given just a blank page and told to create something. That can be stressful for them. So having a starting place is really nice, and having a template that has already taken in the graphic design work, some of the color schemes and all of that can help you make an even better end product. And then you can also share and download. So again, as a teacher, that's really important for our students to be able to take their work and share it out with others. So I'll show you how to do that. We're going to together go start to finish through creating a graphic, so you will see that whole process. So I'm going to put one more poll on your screen here, and in this poll, I am curious how familiar you all are with Adobe Spark. So there's a couple options here. Anywhere from you've heard of Adobe, but you've never heard of Adobe Spark, up to you love Spark, you have used it before, you could probably share some tips and tricks with us. And again, this is just going to help guide us today to make the time beneficial for all of you. All right, looks like a couple of us have tried Adobe Spark, so that is very cool. Some of us have heard of it, and some of us, this is brand new, so that's pretty exciting. Hopefully you walk away from today with another tool in your toolbox that you can use. I'm going to go ahead and end that. And for those of you who have used Adobe Spark, I'm not going to totally put you on the spot. We would love to hear what you think of Adobe Spark or your experience with it. If you want to either unmute yourself or put it in the chat. The poll was anonymous. I don't even know who you are, and I'm not going to force you to share, but if you are willing, I just want to give you an opportunity to do that. All right, so we will keep going. Ooh, posters, yes. Very cool. So Adobe Spark, you can create posters and different careers. I could see, I think we had somebody here in CTE. That could be cool to have students create posters, almost like advertisements for CTE courses. Like here are the different careers you could have, just like Lacey did with art careers. So good idea, I like that. All right, so here's some examples. These examples or ideas are for Adobe Spark Video. What I really like about Adobe Spark Video, I will show you in just a second, is it's going to give you a template. And you can choose, and it's going to guide you through the creation of your video. So again, you're not starting with just this blank video where students have to start from scratch. It's going to guide the students along the way and tell them what to put on each scene of the video. It's going to look kind of like a slideshow when you're working on it initially, and then at the end it's going to mesh it all together into video format. So you could do an invitation video. So if you want to invite somebody from the community to come in and talk to your class, you can invite them via video. So you can create a video invitation. Book reviews, how-to videos, so explaining certain things. There are two ideas linked on this page that you can click on and check out. So teaching sight words, story starters, if you're teaching or working with some younger students, digital narratives, video posters. So instead of just creating a poster, make a video informing people of whatever the content is. Video journals and reflections, so students can kind of journal along the way. One thing that's nice about Adobe Spark is that it is going to save like Google. So students can go in at checkpoints and they can create throughout a unit, they can create like on each scene of the video, they can reflect or include some kind of journal about what it is they're learning that day throughout a unit. And then at the end of the unit, they have this video that showcases what they've learned during that particular unit or novel or whatever it is you're studying. These are some examples of things that you can do with graphics. So you could use like the comic strip template, and you could do a progress or checkpoint visual. So similar to the video journal, if you give a project over the course of time, time management is one thing that students definitely have to be taught and guided in. So to give them checkpoints and to have them create this visual so that as they go through this process of creating a project or a longer activity, they're including these little checkpoints that show the progress that they've made. For them, that's going to help them when they look back and reflect. They can see where they started and how far they came. And for you as a teacher, it's going to help you with that formative assessment, checking in with them and kind of seeing along the way how they're doing. An Instagram feed. So there are social media templates. So you can have your students create, you pose like a what if this historical figure or this mathematician, or what if this science experiment, what if this chemical element, what would a feed look like? Create a couple social media images, Instagram stories, Facebook posts, whatever it is, create it from somebody else's point of view. So that one's good for point of view or kind of putting yourself in someone else's shoes. You could create an invitation to some kind of event. So it could be, even if it's a fictional event. So if you're reading a novel, you could have your students pick a character, use what they know about the character development, and create an invitation to some kind of event that the character is going to attend or that the character is going to host. Similar with a menu. You can get really creative and have a menu for a book or a menu for different elements that combine for chemical reaction. And I'm not science, so the fact that I'm giving several science examples is comical to me right now. I don't know why I'm stuck on science, but there's a lot of cool things. Kindle book or magazine cover for historical events, or for whatever topic you want, they can create this cover that would fit that content. And then one of the examples on here that we are going to do today is we are going to do a quote graphic. So for any content area, you have text that your students read. It may be nonfiction, it may be fiction, but whatever the case is, you could always have them, and this can even be a quick little exit ticket, is have them pull one quote that stands out to them and create a graphic quote like the one from To Kill a Mockingbird here on the slide, and explain why that quote is so memorable to them or why it impacted them. So lots of cool things that you can do with graphics and videos. So I'm going to pause again. Again, it's kind of difficult to see how everybody's doing since we're not all together, but I want to give you a chance if you have any questions or if you have some ideas that you thought of as we were going through those, if you want to share them with the group. Again, you can either use chat or you could unmute yourself and share before we keep going. Allie, you could do this on the board at the front of the room and have the students kind of collaborate and guide, like if you had one student be the driver, and have them guide each other. But I think it would be a little bit more powerful to have each student create their own, or for them to work in pairs to create something together on Chromebooks. But it is possible to do it whole group. The tool will work that way. Yes, you can add your own images, Lacey. And I'll show you how to do that when we get into this. Yes, Bridget, this will work on desktop. So I am using a desktop right now. So you'll see exactly what it's going to look like on a desktop. And honestly, it looks the same thing on a desktop or a Chromebook. So you can use either one. You're welcome. All right, we're going to go and get logged in. Keep the questions coming. Again, Abby is there and can help answer any questions while we continue. So don't hesitate to ask. So at this point, we are going to go through the login process. I will give you the disclaimer that there are a couple clicks to this. Not necessarily difficult, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody kind of knows how to get in. So we're going to go through this part together, and then I'm going to quickly show you the video, how to create a video, and then we'll get into creating our own graphics. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to hop out of this presentation. So again, you are following along, unless you just really need to watch what I do, and then you're going to log in a couple minutes after you watch. Totally up to you. You know yourself best. So I am going to open a new tab, and I am going to just search for Adobe Spark and hit enter. You can also go to spark.adobe.com, or if you Google it like I did, it will be the first one that pops up here. So it's going to bring you to the Adobe page. I would encourage you to kind of dig around on this page. Adobe has some great resources for you here. I'm going to go in and go ahead and click sign in the top right corner. I am going to choose continue with Google. Always, always, always look for that continue with Google button. It is going to make your life and your students' lives a little bit easier. A lot of tools have it now too. Sometimes it's a little hidden, so just look for it. And then this is the page where you just kind of have to watch what you choose. You're going to choose an account for enterprise. And the way you'll remember it's enterprise is right under it says company or school account. So again, Gaston County has enterprise, so you're going to choose that option. Depending on if you've used Adobe Spark before or not, you may get a pop-up window that asks you to choose your particular account, your Gaston County Schools email. It's a window that pops up a lot of times when you use Google to sign in. Unfortunately, I know I'm not with you, so I can't look at your screen and see if it is giving you that. But if you have any questions, again, I know I keep saying it, but I want to make sure that nobody's getting confused or falling behind. But now you are on the Adobe Spark site. You'll know you're signed in because you've got this blue little pie piece up here. And if you click on it, it will say you have your account here. So it gives you like a little snapshot here of what you can create as you scroll down. Some little options. Here are the apps if you have iPads or if you want to get it on your iPhone. I am going to show you with the videos what that's going to look like. You do not need to follow along with this. This is not part of your artifact. I just want to show you what the templates look like because it's really cool. So I am going to click create a project, and I'm going to create a video. It's going to ask me to name my video. So my sample video. Next. This is where it's going to ask to pick a story template. So it's going to basically ask, what is your purpose in creating this video? And so what you or your students can do, Hero's Journey is really cool for high school English. That's part of the curriculum. Show and tell, personal growth, teach a lesson. It's going to help your students kind of narrow down their focus and identify what the purpose is in their video. So if I pick a hero's journey, it's going to create kind of the outline or the storyboard to help guide me. So you can see down here that in a hero's journey, it's a cycle that the hero goes through, and it's going to, on each slide or on each scene, it's going to tell me the purpose of the slide. So this one's set up, and then it's going to say, okay, on this slide, tell us about the hero and their world before the quest begins. And then this scene of the video is the call to adventure. What happens that causes the hero to undertake their quest? So it's guiding you through based on the template that you picked. So these items down here are going to be totally different if I picked tell your story, problem solution, one of the other templates. But it's going to give your students some guidance in what they're creating. And then you've got your toolbar over here on the right where you can do whatever you need to kind of edit and customize your video. And you've got a little plus button on each scene, which is where you can import video, including video that your students may have recorded on their own phones or devices, text, photo, icons, everything there. So that's Adobe Spark video. Again, we're not going to spend too much time on that, but I just wanted you to see how simple it really is and how much guidance it's going to give you and your students in creating videos. So I'm going to go back home. And what you can do to create something is you can search up here for a particular template that you want to use. Or you can choose a template across the top, or you can click Create a Project and view all and choose what type of item you want. So before I continue, I'm going to pop back over here. So you have a couple of choices here. Everybody is going to create a graphic quote. However, if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, if you are one of those who has used Adobe Spark before and you want something a little bit more difficult, you can kind of step it up a little and create a book or magazine cover that kind of explains the themes of your classroom. If you want to step it up even more and challenge yourself, you can create an invitation that you would post outside of your classroom, inviting others to come in and see the cool things that you're doing. So you've got a couple different options here of what you can create. The toolbar and how you create it is really going to work the same for all of those. It's just there are going to be more items or objects the further into this choice board here that you go. So the invitation is going to have more elements that you're going to have to work with and edit than the inspirational quote graphic. So if you're just starting out or you just want to kind of keep it easy, then stick with me on an inspirational quote to print and post in your classroom. So what we're going to do is we are going to do I do, we do, you do. So I am going to kind of demonstrate how to get started doing the graphic. We are going to work on it a little bit together, and then we're just going to give you some time to finish it up while Abby and I are here to answer any questions. So that's kind of what the next chunk of this is going to look like. Once we work through this, then I'll explain how you are going to turn in your graphic as your artifact and how you'll earn your CEUs. So I'm going to pause one more time just in case there's any questions before we get started with this part. If you need to unmute or chat. And I'm going to hop back over to Adobe Spark here. And let me go back home and try and get to what your screen would look like. All right. So go ahead and choose what type of template you want to use for your quote graphic. I am going to choose an Instagram post here. So I'm just going to click it. Don't stress too much about what template you choose, because once you get into your the template that you picked, your Instagram post, you can't always change it. So because I clicked Instagram, it's just giving me a square white page that I can start from scratch. But I can also search for Spark templates here. So I can search by theme. Of course, some things that you search for are not going to deliver as many results, but you can search there. And then the right-hand side here is your toolbar. So anytime you have the ability to edit or make any changes, it is always going to be over here on the right side. So you won't ever lose your toolbar. It's always going to be there. So you can kind of scroll through, and if you decide, you know what, I don't really like that. I don't want to do an Instagram template. I want to use this one. I can click and it's going to say, do I want to use this template instead? So I'm going to change my template just so you can see. And it's going to load that in. So anytime I want to edit an element, I am going to click on the element. And you're going to notice that when I select an element, the toolbar on the right, again, it's always on the right, the toolbar on the right is going to customize based on what you can do with that element. So because I have clicked this and it's an icon, it's only going to give me the things that I can change about an icon. So it's not going to be overwhelming. It's not going to give me all of these options that don't apply. And up here at the top, when I click on the element, I can also change whatever I need by either deleting or if I want to duplicate it. So in this case, I'm going to delete that. So again, each element I click on, text, you're going to get more options. You can edit or you can delete. So I'm going to delete that text there. And let's see if it pops up here. Oh, up in the top left corner, it's going to go away in a minute. It says saving. So each time I delete an element, you'll notice that it is going to update and save automatically, which is really nice. Up in the top left corner, I also failed to mention that's where you would title your post. If you at any point need to get back to just kind of the main toolbox, you click in the white space around your graphic. So let's say that for my inspirational quote graphic, instead of just a plain purple background, I want some kind of image. I can use this add button here, and I can add a photo. And this is where, Lacey, you mentioned, can students add their own, like Google Drawing as a background? This is where you would click Upload Photo here. What you can also do is you can connect to Google Drive. For this example, I'm just going to click Find Free Photos. It's just going to be a little bit of a quicker process. Just be aware that you can upload your own photos that you've saved to either your laptop, your desktop. If you're on a Chromebook, you can still click Upload Photo and it can just pull from there. And you can also pull from Google Drive. But for now, I'm going to click Find Free Photos. And because this is an inspirational quote, and the one I picked was about learning, I'm just going to search for the word learn and hit enter. Now, another disclaimer. These results are from Unsplash, which our filter tends to block pretty frequently. However, beside my search term learn here, there's a drop-down menu, and I can choose to search from Pixabay instead. Pixabay, you will come up with more results. Just like with anything you're searching for, if you are doing this process, if you're guiding your students through using the board at the front of the room, please make sure that you have pre-searched for the word just so that you know what results are going to come up. It's best practice to not just randomly search for words when your board's on and all the students can see it, just to be on the safe side. So I'm going to choose these books, and when I click on it, it's going to ask, where do I want this image to be? Do I want to be able to move it around wherever I want, or do I want to pin it to the background? So for this, I'm going to pin it to the background, and you'll notice it sets that image as my background. If I decide, you know what, I want to be able to resize that image and I want to be able to move it around, then as long as I am clicked on it, I can choose to move it freely. I can also replace it. I can zoom in and out with the scale here, rotate it, flip it. Your toolbar on the side over here also has filters. So because I am putting text on top of an image, I am going to change my filter. I'm going to lighten it up a little bit. And I'm going to blur it out a little bit too, just so that the text shows up a little bit better. So if you have been following along, you have found an image and you are either finished customizing your image or you're still working through the toolbar to do that. But I'm going to pause for a couple seconds, again, just in case anybody has any questions. All right. So I am going to delete a couple more of these elements that I do not want so that I can add my text. So in this case, I am going to delete all of the text here. So I can show you if you start from scratch with your text. So again, if you ever want to add an element, you click the plus add button. And in this case, I want to add text. Again, your toolbox is going to customize based on what you chose. And because it's Adobe, they are giving you some different text templates that you may want to use. So I'm going to find one that looks good to me. This is a quote, so I'm going to choose this one. And I am going to click, and it's going to put it on my design. You can drag these little handles just like you can with any item like in Google, and also like in Google Slides. It's going to give you pink guidelines here so that you can get your text or your image, whatever you're working with, you can get it exactly in the center of your page. So right now, I'm using just the default text from this particular text design, but I want to include my own quote. So to edit your text, because I have selected that text element, I am going to come up here to edit. It's the little pencil icon. And when I click edit, it is going to bring me to the text edit page. So from here, I saved a quote for myself. So let me grab it. And I am going to copy and paste. And I'm going to click done. And there I have my quote. So because my quote's a little shorter than the original, I might need to move it around. I might need to make it a little larger. Make sure that it's centered here. My toolbox is giving me only the options for this text that I've selected. So I can change what font I'm using here. So let's see. I'll pick that one. I can change the size of my font. I can change the spacing of the letters, the line spacing. I can change the transparency of my text. This button here, I can click it and it's going to automatically capitalize all letters. Again, to edit my text, I click the pencil icon that shows up when I've selected my text. And I am going to hit it there. There we go. So that the person who said this quote is on its own line. Make that a little smaller. So right now I'm really just kind of playing around. I'm getting it to be the look that I want using the toolbox over here. I can change the color of my font. It's going to give me suggested colors. Again, it's Adobe graphic design, so they're going to suggest colors based on what you've chosen, but they're also going to give you all colors down here, different combinations. The shape of my text is what shape I want kind of framing my items, so I can go in and I can change what my text looks like. Or I can add no backing shape here. So I would just go through my toolbox, just kind of clicking down the different options until I find exactly what it is I am looking for, resizing it the way I need it until I'm done. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to explain, I'm going to kind of close out the presentation part of today. Then, and while I'm doing that, you can just kind of listen and you can keep working on your graphic. And then I am going to show you how to save your graphic and how to submit it for your CEUs. And then we will let you be on your way, and we'll be here kind of watching and helping as you guys finish at your own pace. So, like I said, keep working on your graphic and kind of listen in the background. I'm going to pop back over to the presentation and explain the rest of this.